When most folks picture the Amish, what comes to mind tends to be pretty simple. Maybe a horse-drawn buggy clip-clopping down a gravel lane, the smell of homemade pies cooling on the windowsill, or a quiet life untouched by the noise of modern technology. It's peaceful, it's quaint, it's a world apart. But let me ask you something. Did you ever imagine an Amish man leaning back after a long day in the fields and puffing on a cigar? Or entire rows of broadleaf tobacco stretching toward the sun on an Amish farm? No? Well, you're not alone. Turns out, there's a side to Amish life that few outside their communities ever get to see. A world where tobacco isn't just smoked, it's cultivated, sold, and in some places even celebrated. That's right. While some Amish folks treat smoking like an age-old comfort, others won't go near the stuff. And in between those two extremes is a story as rich and layered as a well-aged tobacco leaf. One where faith, farming, health, tradition, and economy all mingle together. So do the Amish actually smoke? Why do some raise tobacco while others strictly forbid it? And why is this one plant, just one humble, leafy green, so controversial in such plain-spoken communities? Let's roll up our sleeves and take a closer look. To start, yes, some Amish not only smoke tobacco, but also grow it by the acre. And this isn't some recent turn of events. In places like Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, tobacco farming has been a steady tradition for well over a century. Drive those back roads in midsummer, and you'll see those unmistakable fields, broad, leafy, and green as emeralds, standing tall against a backdrop of red barns and horse-drawn plows. There's nothing secretive about it. This is open-air agriculture, rooted deep in the soil and the culture. You see, the Lancaster region offers just the right kind of climate for tobacco. Warm days, cool nights, and rich soil that seems to welcome every seed. And the Amish have grown to know it like the back of their hand. Whole families take part. Men steer the horse teams, kids pick weeds, women help hang the harvested leaves in wooden barns that smell of earth and smoke. The crop is handled with care, dried naturally, and bundled in a way that hasn't changed much since their great-grandfathers did it. But why tobacco? Why not corn, or beans, or hay? Well, the short answer is simple: money. Farming, especially in Amish country, is no easy feat. Land in Lancaster doesn't come cheap, and raising a large family, often with 8, 10, even 12 mouths to feed, requires a steady income. Modern jobs in factories or offices aren't really an option for most Amish. But tobacco? It's a cash crop. A small patch of well-tended tobacco can earn more than acres of corn. And unlike dairy farming, which demands round-the-clock attention, tobacco has seasons. It grows, it's harvested, it's dried, it's sold. Done right, it can be the difference between scraping by and standing steady. But here's where it gets more than just practical. For some Amish families, tobacco is tradition. It's what Dad did. It's what Grandpa did. It's what you'll teach your own sons to do when the time comes. The harvest season especially becomes a time of shared effort. Men, women, and children working side by side. There's a rhythm to it, a kind of bonding. One farmer once said, "It's like a family reunion. Only instead of potato salad and hymns, you've got pitchforks and drying racks." There's something about that work, slow, steady, sweaty, that keeps them close. And yet, not every Amish community sees it that way. Tobacco, for all its profit and history, is also deeply divisive. Some Amish see it as a stain, something that goes against the grain of their faith, their health, and their principles. Take, for instance, the families who moved from Lancaster to Park County, Indiana, back in the 1990s. They brought their faith and their way of life, but left the tobacco behind. There, as they built a new settlement from the ground up, they made a collective decision. No tobacco farming. Not here, not now, not ever. Why? Because they believed it sent the wrong message, that profiting off a plant tied to addiction, disease, and death wasn't in line with the God-centered life they were trying to lead. And they're not alone in that thinking. The New Order Amish, a more conservative branch, outright rejects both smoking and tobacco farming. For them, it's not about money or tradition. It's about living clean, living simple, and not giving in to temptation, no matter how old or accepted it may be. Even in communities where tobacco is widely grown, individual families might choose to opt out. Some refuse to grow it, even if it means less income. Others will farm it, but never touch the stuff themselves. There's a moral tension that runs just beneath the surface, earning a living off a product that you know deep down might harm those who use it. Still, the crop continues. In Lancaster, in parts of Ohio and Kentucky, you'll still see Amish barns filled with hanging leaves come fall. And while the younger generation is starting to rethink things, with more turning toward dairy, organic vegetables, or woodworking, tobacco hasn't vanished yet, not by a long shot. So how exactly do the Amish grow tobacco? Well, like everything else they do, by hand, by horse, and with a level of care that would put most industrial farms to shame. Seeds go into trays in early spring, then into the fields when the frost is gone. Throughout the summer, the plants are watched, weeded, and guarded. Come harvest time, the whole family pitches in. Young boys, just 10 or 12, help with cutting and bundling. Girls tie the stalks into neat clusters. The barns fill up with the smell of drying leaf. It's an old process, nearly unchanged since the 1800s. And where does it all go? Mostly to English buyers, non-Amish companies that turn it into cigars, pipe tobacco, and chewing blends. Some Amish do use what they grow, but most of it is for business. There's a clear line, even in the most tobacco-friendly communities. This is a product, not a pastime. But that doesn't mean no one smokes. In some settlements, smoking is almost a badge of old-school tradition. It's not about rebellion or stress. It's about custom. You might find an older Amish man lighting a cigar after dinner, like it's no more unusual than tying his boots. In fact, in groups like the Schwartzentruber Amish, among the most conservative, it's downright normal. There's no taboo, no judgment, just a quiet puff of smoke rising into the twilight sky. And here's the twist. Some of these same men will take a smoke break in the middle of a church service. That's right. Between hymns and sermons, a few of them might step outside, share a pipe, and return like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. But let's be clear, when the Amish smoke, they lean toward cigars and pipes, not cigarettes. Why? Because cigarettes, with their flashy branding and modern additives, are seen as too worldly, too commercial, too English. A wooden pipe or a hand-rolled cigar? Now that fits the mold, something slow-burning, old-fashioned, and made without all the extras. That said, not everyone sticks to tradition. During Rumspringa, that unique window in Amish life when teens are allowed to explore the outside world, some young folks do dabble in cigarettes, even alcohol. It's part of that brief step outside the fence before choosing whether to be baptized into the church. Most leave those habits behind once they return, but not all. Among the New Order, smoking of any kind is frowned upon. Even the idea of a cigar seems out of step with their values. These communities stress health, purity, and self-control. Smoking is seen as a vice, a distraction from the higher path. Walk into a New Order gathering with a lit cigar, and you'll likely get a few raised eyebrows, if not a quiet word of disapproval. What about the women, you ask? Well, smoking among Amish women is rare, very rare. In some conservative communities, a few older women might enjoy a pipe, but it's not the norm. Socially, it's far more acceptable for men to smoke. A woman with a cigar would likely raise questions, even in communities where tobacco is otherwise embraced. For the most part, Amish women steer clear of tobacco altogether, especially in the more progressive or health-conscious groups. And that brings us to the big question. Do the Amish worry about the health risks? It depends. Some see tobacco as a natural plant, used for generations without issue. Others are more aware of modern health science and are beginning to reconsider its place. As more medical information trickles in, and as younger generations become more curious about the world beyond their farms, tobacco use is slowly declining. Fewer boys are taking it up, fewer families are growing it, and slowly but surely the old ways are being questioned, not out of rebellion, but out of reflection. Still, in many corners of Amish country, the smell of pipe smoke drifting through the air is just another part of life. No fuss, no politics, no warning labels or glossy billboards, just one man, one match, and a moment of peace at the end of the day. So, do the Amish smoke? Some do, some don't. Do they grow tobacco? In certain communities, yes, and they make a good living doing it. Do they wrestle with the health concerns? Again, it varies. What's clear is this. Tobacco in Amish life isn't about image or industry. It's about history. It's about survival. It's about families finding their way in a world that's constantly changing, one handmade cigar at a time.